delay, that's the only thing. Hello, hello, hello. Whether you're watching through Introvert's Corner, whether you're watching through YouTube, or whether you're watching at some later stage from somewhere, welcome. It's been such a week that we've had here at International Introverts Week. And I'm finishing up the Monday to Friday week with a very special guest, somebody that I'm really honoured to have a conversation with today. And that's the beautiful and gentle Caroline Palmy. So, Caroline, tell us a little about yourself and let the people here listening and watching find out who you are.
Welcome and thank you for having me, Joanna. This is really deeply honored. My name is Caroline. I am born and raised here in Switzerland, in the heart of Europe, and actually in the heart of Switzerland, sort of really in the center. I'm an author. I publish 2 books. I love to speak, inspire, and get together in a virtual group. And also a heart flow healer, helping people to open the doors to their heart so they can be back in the flow of love. And I'm all about compassion, accepting others, what and who they are, and also accepting oneself just the way we are, because without acceptance, we can't love. And yeah, I'm always happy to share and be invited to gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you. One of the things that and Caroline and I can't quite remember how we met. We may have a shared contact in Lee Daniels, but we really can't remember. But that's irrelevant, actually, because what I know is that I've had this sense of deep connection with Caroline for a long time, and our paths kind of do this. It's not as though we're in each other's pockets all the time, but I'm just aware of this amazing energy. And I think you've put your finger on it already, Caroline, when you've talked about being open to love. And it's something that I've struggled with in the past in terms of loving myself. And for me, that's where it starts. I'm not sure I can fully love somebody else until I love myself. So that's where it starts for me. And it's one of the things that occurred for me before I understood my introversion. I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought I was broken and in need of fixing. So it's only this last kind of decade and a half that I've really said, this is who I am and there's nothing wrong with me. So when did you find out you were an introvert? How has it impacted your life, Caroline?
Maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. And I had never heard the term introvert. And like you, for the first 45 years of my life, I felt something is definitely wrong with me. I mean, yeah, we compare, which is not good, but I grew up in a very extroverted home, and I have 2 sisters, and one of them is complete extrovert. She always has people around. She always goes out. And can you imagine? I was much more sensitive, and they went out to parties. I went along, but it wasn't. I just didn't feel comfortable. Too many people, too much noise. It's sort of. And then I was just so happy by myself. And then my sister said, something's wrong with her, it's sort of, so, and I constantly felt something's wrong with me, because I was always exhausted, drained, feeling really burned out, and I had no idea why. Or going shopping with my daughter, and I just clothes shopping, it's just like too much. And then I learned about introverts, and I read up on it, and said, that is me, that is so me. And I thought sort of, oh wow, this is cool. I'm okay.
Yeah. I remember that moment for me, and it wasn't until I was in my 30s, And I took the Myers-Briggs type indicator test, which I know a lot of psychologists say is rubbish. But I've got to tell you that for me, it was such an amazing aha moment that, you know, I don't really mind what other people think of it. For me, I could see myself all of a sudden in that description. Not that I understood what to do with it then, but at last I thought, okay, there are other people like me. There's nothing wrong with me. And this is how I'm different. So I remember that moment, even though it was nearly 30 years ago. I still remember that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of, oh, I'm not the only one. That's the thing, you know, we always feel like it's just us. Something is wrong with us, terribly wrong. And I remember sometimes I just went outside and just did things for my own. And even now, I still need that recharge in nature and that alone time. And my mom, I remember even a couple of years ago, I was just go for a dog walk, you know, on one of those family occasions. And my sisters looked like, and then my mom said, yeah, just let her. She needs recharging. I thought, okay, good. Yes, I need recharging.
So you had a mother who understood then?
I think she was just, or is she still alive, luckily, was okay with me just maybe going into my room and closing off, or realizing that's just how I am. And maybe if you have 3 daughters, I mean, I have 3 children on my own, and realize they are all so different, even though they are all my children, and each one is different, and just accepting those differences and uniqueness. And
Yeah, absolutely. The guest I've just been speaking to was Anita Gray, whose whole work is in organizations is around the diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda. And, you know, accepting that we are different. And I'm really committed to inclusion as opposed to further divisions. So whilst I find it helpful to understand I'm an introvert, what I don't want to do is get into that, whether introverts are better than extroverts, or it's just difference. And I think what I'm looking for is compassion and understanding of that difference. The label is helpful initially because it gives us some sense of how we're different. But then I think it's about exploring, it's about getting curious and really developing that deeper understanding of how we're different, in the same way that you've talked about, I guess, with your children. So
yeah, and it's all about like you and I, we are both introverts, but we're not the same, you know, kind of. We need different things. And it's like I can be an extrovert for maybe 5 minutes and then I need time out and go back into my introverted self to just restore, and then just maybe just compared to my lives, or just getting that sense of what is going on, who am I, and just taking a deep breath. It's like maybe when 10 people or 100 people go swimming, they all reach the other side of the pool or the other side of the lake, but we all go there in our own speed, in our own breath, in our own style. And it's also like flowers. I mean, we are all beautiful flowers, and no flower would go and look at the other flower and say, I'm prettier, or I am already blooming. You're still tight in the butt. But it's sort of like, we are all flowers in that beautiful garden on this earth. And it's about accepting ourselves just the way we are. And then when we, like you said, everything comes from within, acceptance and love. And like you said, unless we can truly love ourselves, we can't even start to love someone else. And that's the same thing. Learn to accept who you are. And that is, yes, I'm an introvert. Or maybe I'm sort of, with some parts of the introverts I can relate to, and explore that and accept that we are all unique. And when you can accept yourself deep down, all of you, we can accept others more. And that's important. There's no one better. There's no one superior or has the right of whatever. We are all in this together. And introverts, extroverts, omniverts, whatever we have here, we are all equal. And as long as we can understand and accept each other just the way we are, without trying to fix others or having to point fingers, we can't really come back together compassionately. And I think it's more of an introvert sense that we have maybe more compassion through what we went through, but please include that compassion for others, for the extroverts who are in the same, when so many introverts talk about introverts, they feel like, oh, wow, this is, I don't know, they have to learn as well. They have to love to explore that. And as we ask others not to see us as failures or strange or weirdos, I ask all of you to see others just the way they are. We are all perfect the way we are.
Big round of applause from me on that, because that's exactly, what's so important to me is about not creating further divisions, but actually getting to understand and getting to appreciate, getting to be curious about the difference, rather than, as you say, pointing fingers, rather than blaming extroverts for always being noisy. Well, that's what they need in order to recharge their batteries. Have some compassion for that. We were talking just before we came on air about how pleasurable this has been for us during lockdown. And it's not been the case for many extroverts that I work with. It's been like torture because there hasn't been enough social interaction. Let's have some compassion for that, rather than ha, 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 silly old extroverts can't get their own way for a change. So, I absolutely agree. Compassion for others, for humanity, actually. And let's get curious about that difference.
Yeah, and especially, my youngest is still a teenager. The other two are adults. And in that age space, they're still exploring. They still need their peers, whether they're introverts or extroverts, or whether they're forming their own sense of who they are. It's really important. We don't, as parents, as aunts, as whoever we are in those roles, not to put a positive or negative on anything, because that might lead them down the wrong way. Like I have a very extroverted daughter and son, my younger son, and if I would say, oh, only introverts are good, what would that feel for them? How would they develop? They would then again feel like something is wrong with them. And we don't want anyone to go through the same we went through. So be compassionate with yourself for what you've gone through and for others. And if your neighbors are throwing parties and it's too loud and you want to sleep, ring the doorbell, ask them to be more quiet. It's all about living together, you know.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there are so many myths and misconceptions around introversion, but there are times where we don't do ourselves any favors. So people will say introverts don't have anything to say for ourselves. And then we don't go and ring that doorbell and say, hey guys, it's really late and I need to sleep. We kind of stew in our own house and grumble and complain and get angry, when actually, if we take action with the right intention, then what we're starting to do is we're starting to grow into our own positive introversion in that way, I believe, anyway.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's, yeah, we have to share. That's what I learned, you know, because I am so sensitive and intuitive, and I can sense what others are going through, and I expected others to know the same. So without me telling them, I expected them to know how I feel or what I'm going through, and that's not the case. And
No.
so it's important we take a moment and maybe come back to the heart and take a deep breath and then share with compassion, with love, and don't let it stew. I've did that as a mom, you know. So, oh, there's a number, and then all of a sudden I blew out with and they go, what happened?
Yeah.
I said, so it was so noisy. If I'd started something at the beginning and said in a nice way, it would be better. But and that's the thing. We need to speak up more from our heart and just say. And what helps is sort of, I would prefer a bit more quiet. I would love to go to bed and I can't sleep. If we have the I sense, I feel sentences, whereas sort of like, you are too noisy, you're not good, sort of speak what you need, and people, yeah, hear you.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And as you're talking about being sensitive, I'm imagining that, and intuitive, I'm imagining you're an empath. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. And I'd love to do more research around this, but the research seems to say that many more introverts are empaths than extroverts. And I'd love to understand a bit more about potentially why that might be. I don't know if you have any understanding of that. I don't as yet, but it's certainly something that interests me. Is that something that you're familiar with in terms of research and data, or you have an intuitive knowing of why that is?
Maybe not about research or data, but it's because we are more looking within. We are more, maybe more into feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Introverts, you know, going more within, talking to ourselves, taking that time out, and probably more sensitive in general, because extroverts are more out there, introverts are more in here. And then it's easier for us to pick up on others,
Yeah.
because we are probably more, as introverts, we more observant,
Yes.
quietly observant. We are maybe better listeners. So we take more in, where extroverts give out more. It's nothing wrong and nothing, you know, better, but it's just they give out more. They are more about maybe presenting themselves and sharing more, maybe verbally, where we are more intuitively, maybe just sensing more
Yeah.
without people having to talk. So
The word that came to me as you were talking is we're almost absorbing as they're projecting or giving off. We're absorbing more, and maybe that's why, because there is a stillness, a calmness about us quite often that enables that. I mean, potentially, I think almost everyone could be an empath, but it depends how busy we are giving out, as opposed to being open to receiving and absorbing, I think, potentially.
Yeah, absorbing is a very good word, yes.
Yeah, interesting. So in the work you do, obviously as an author, as a speaker, as a healer, to what extent does that really play to your introverted strengths? Which of your introverted strengths do you think really come to the fore in the work that you do?
I mean, writing books is just what I love, I remember I was sitting in my bed Sunday morning with my laptop and then just typing it all out. And writing is very healing for me, and that writing it out, not having to speak, that's sort of very an introverted, or like my friend always said, I have sort of 90% of the writing happens here while I take a walk. Then I have this idea or this, and then it forms itself. And then actually, when it's all done, it just comes out of my fingers into the keyboard and into the words. And I think that's a very introverted kind of way. Speaking sounds maybe more extroverted, but actually when you're there with people or on the mind-body healing congress, you're sensing into the room, or you're doing something together, with the people. You're sensing into it, you're absorbing the energy, and it's that togetherness. It's that very heart-centered. And of course, with healing, I love my one-on-one clients, and that's very introverted too. One-on-one is absolutely perfect. But even doing my meditation circles and everything, it's more of a group setting, but it's very familiar, you know everybody. It's sort of a really sacred kind of circle. And so in a way, all my work is introverted, and I just love it.
And I love the fact that in a way there's another myth exploded around the speaking part, actually, because I too am used to being on the stage, either from my TEDx talk or emceeing events of over 1,000 people, or delivering at large conferences, etc. I have to recharge fully first, because I'm aware that some of the energy in the room will be useful to me and some will feel a bit antagonistic, and I'll want to just protect myself from some of the energy. And then as soon as I finish on the stage, I disappear really fast. So if anybody wanted to have a chat with me afterwards, they wouldn't be able to straight afterwards, actually. Usually there's a space of about half an hour where I'll take myself off. If I'm in a large conference hotel, I'll take myself to my room. Then I'll come back down when I've done a few little restorative practices that get my mental batteries, my mental energy back up again. But it's a myth that we can't speak, that we don't speak. It's about understanding what state we need to be in to speak authentically, as you say, to speak from the heart, to share from the heart. It's a phrase I really, really love.
Yeah, and speaking is so much different than when you're just in a party crowd and then so many people come and you have idle chit chat or something. And when you're on stage, it's more like you're just presenting your heart, your energy, and it's you talking. But even taking questions is okay for me. It's sort of like that one-on-one again. It's not the same. Like when you're in a party and people come and want to ask something, and then the next one, and then it's too much because you have the background noise. Because when you're speaking on stage, it's quiet.
Yeah, you can hear a pin drop, can't you? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And for me, there's something really magical about holding that space and feeling the energy in that space, which I think is, again, something that introverts may feel more than some of their extroverted speaking colleagues, because, you know, we get a sense of the energy in that room. I can almost feel it kind of pulsating around me and within my body, which I absolutely love. Absolutely love.
Yeah, and I think it's just more maybe the difference also from introvert to extrovert, and no research, no data, just my opinion, is maybe introverts, once they connect to their heart, they can speak more, because then they're standing in their truth, in their energy, whereas extroverts are maybe more focused on the mind, and they need the structure and maybe more of a flip charts or PowerPoint presentations, whereas introverts might be more free speakers. But again, just a generalization. It's not the truth. This is just my
Yeah.
insights.
And you've just mentioned something there that you also mentioned at the beginning, and it's because it's something that I've struggled with in the past. I would love to hear a few words from you about how we can connect with our heart. I know that's what a lot of your work is about. So, please also tell us about your workshops, etc. But how can we as introverts connect with our hearts so that we're sharing from that place, Caroline?
Yeah, and that's something I do before I go on stage. It's sort of, in a way, it's grounding.
Yeah.
Sort of just really arriving in the here and now and inside my body, not out here. And that also helps with nervousness, because then and what I do is putting my hands on my heart space. I don't know whether you can see that, just like this.
Yes, yeah.
Or just, you can also, when you're doing that and you're among people, just tap 2 fingers just on your heart space, and then I usually close my eyes and I just take in a deep breath and really expand my belly and let go. Still touching my heart space, and breathe in deeply into my belly, and another deep breath in and out. And you might already feel much calmer, connected to your inner peace. Whatever you might have thought, you feel maybe your thoughts are just flowing away, and you're just more present. Taking a deep breath and come back into your body, into your heart. And just trust the universe, trust Mother Earth, and trust yourself. Here in your heart, this is your inner wisdom, inner peace, inner calm, and your true essence. This is who you are. Taking a deep breath and anchor that feeling into your whole body, into every cell. And know you can always come back to your present moment, your true essence, by just tapping on your heart and taking a deep breath in. And now you're ready for your next step, to go on stage, to face your family, whatever needs doing. Another deep breath. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back here to Joanna and I and this wonderful, wonderful chat we are having.
That's amazing. I can feel how much calmer I feel automatically. So I can imagine it has a calming effect on the, the nervous system, as well as in the kind of, in our whole being. So it's amazing. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you for
You're
sharing.
welcome.
And especially for those introverts who also experience social anxiety. They're not the same thing, but we know that some introverts do, but so do some extroverts. So it's not restricted to just us introverts. A little practice, daily practice like that, or moment by moment when you need it, before that big meeting, before the presentation, before meeting the in-laws, whatever is your thing.
Before going into shopping center.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Before we get back out into the world, when it opens up and back into the office space. Yeah, I can imagine what a deeply restorative practice that is. So thank you, Caroline.
You're welcome.
And if there are introverts who are relatively new on their flourishing journey, what one thing would you say to them that will help them? I love that flower analogy, in that we don't compare ourselves with the next bloom. And for me, that's in essence what flourishing is about. So what one piece of advice would you give to introverts newly on their flourishing journey?
First of all, you are okay and perfect just the way you are. And secondly, take time out regularly throughout your day. If you are close to nature, go to a park or walk out in nature, sit in your garden, hug a tree, just connect to nature, sit on a stone, anything that feels right, and just take a couple of breaths and do that whenever you feel overwhelmed or little out. Go out, just take a deep breath, come back in and continue what you were doing. And Rome wasn't built in one day. Remember, it just takes one step, one more step, and one more step. And another thing I always share is accept yourself whole. And this is a little exercise. So give yourself a hug, especially nowadays when we can't hug others. Just hug yourself tight and lovingly, and squeeze into this hug and tell yourself how much you love yourself and that you're okay, that everything is okay. Take in a deep breath. And now switch your arms. So the arm that was on top, put that underneath and give yourself a hug this way. It might not feel as comfortable, but just squeeze those parts, all the parts, maybe the introvert self you haven't really accepted yet, but hug that part and say, I start loving you from now on more and more each day. I love all parts of myself, even the more uncomfortable parts. You are part of me. Thank you. Thank you for showing me the way. And take a deep breath in. And then you can let go of your arms. And it's important we love both sides, all parts of ourselves, the ones we're really comfortable with and the ones we're not so comfortable with. And that helps you too.
That's a great message for us to end on. Caroline, this has been such a pleasure. I feel so chilled now. And my husband and I are about to go out on a walk because it's a beautiful blue sky, sunshine, a bit breezy. So it's going to be gorgeous for us to get out in nature right now. Caroline, thank you. This has been a real gift. So thank you for joining me, and I look forward to hearing from you more in the future.
Thank you so much, and have a lovely walk. Perfect thing for an introvert to go out for a walk. Have fun, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you.